Welcome to Transfer Exchange Show. We are live. Apologies for delay. As I was saying to Steve, when the computer doesn't want to work, it does not want to work. It was just freezing. The little dot was spinning, and it just I couldn't click on any X's. So yeah, we had to do the old-fashioned turn it off and turn it on IT crowd special. But we're here now. We are here now. I'm joined by Steve K, transfer expert. How you doing, Steve?
Yeah, good, mate. Good. It's football season's coming to an end, but it don't end for us, does it?
No, it's starting to hot up with the transfer news and rumours. So you're going to start getting shows where it's just going to be transfers, which we all know is what you want as well. But
yeah,
before that happens, it's been a busy week. We've seen Arsenal knocked out the Champions League, Liverpool crowned champions, booing one of their club legends. We've seen three British clubs or three clubs from the Premier League make it to European finals, with two of those clubs questioning whether those managers are going to be their managers next season. There's a lot going on. There is a lot going on.
There is a lot.
You're in the right place for all of it. Make sure you jump into the comment section, get your questions in there for Steve and the transfer section that we're going to be coming up soon. But before that, we'll be talking about Arsenal's exit from the Champions League. Unfortunately for Arsenal fans out there, Steve, we saw Arsenal drop out of the Champions League, but it was a second leg where they were much better than the first leg. Probably, I would say, we deserved a little bit more out of the game as well, but that's that same thing again, was just that they weren't very clinical in and around the box, were they?
Yeah, it's starting to get a little bit. We've been through that back and forth whether we need striker or not, and I think especially over the second half of this season, become evident that we do quite badly. Yeah, look, mate, we give it a go, didn't we?
Mm-hmm.
We did. We give it a go. I mean, the home leg, was disappointing. It wasn't bad, but I was expecting a little bit more. And the second leg, yeah, look, we were better. We was quite a bit better, we did ourselves proud. Do you know what I mean? I was proud of them. Do you know what I mean? They give it all.
Mm-hmm.
And look, we just fell short. I don't think there's any shame in going out. Getting to the semi-finals of the Champions Leagues, and a big thing. It's not easy to do that. Especially when you look at the teams we've played, leading up to it. In PSG, PSG again, Real Madrid. Home and away. We've had some difficult matches, and yeah, I mean, I think at the beginning of this, I think if someone would have said to me, "You'll get to the semi-finals, beat Madrid," home and away, I was like, I would have sort of, I don't think so. I think I'll put it this way, I would have been more than satisfied. But with that, so yeah, proud of them. They give it their best shot. I've read some articles where we've been analysed and cut down this and this, but for me, mate, it was just we just PSG over two legs. I think they just deserved it.
Yeah.
I know Mikel Arteta says that we was a better team. We did have her proud, and we played really. But you can't. Whether we was a better team or not, I don't know. I don't think who was the better team should have come up. I just thought it was two good legs, two top European football clubs.
Yeah,
with some really good players who battled it out, and one come on top of the other one. It was just as simple as that. I think.
Just on that, there's been, and I'll also get onto a little bit of the fallout from the loss in the Champions League. But just on Mikel Arteta's comments, do you feel sometimes he doesn't help himself with some of the things that he says, especially in moments when the press, this is Arsenal, and the press will always be looking for a headline. Sometimes I feel like Mikel Arteta gives them that headline when say maybe with a little bit more experience would just be like, I know what you're trying to do here. I'm gonna give you the boring thing for this press.
Yeah. I think Mikel Arteta's probably. I mean, again, people might turn around and say, "Oh, it's you're looking at it just through Arsenal eyes," but I do think Mikel Arteta has to be more careful than other managers, because I genuinely believe that when he's being interviewed by the touchline people after games and in press conferences especially after matches, they're digging.
Oh, they are,
and they're digging and they're pushing, and a lot of the time I'm thinking like you bang out of order.
Yeah,
these because
vultures.
Yeah, exactly that, mate. Exactly that. And Mikel Arteta I agree, he should hold back and not give them the pleasure, if you like. Look. But I think what it is, I think on the flip side of that, we've got an emotional manager who's red-blooded, whatever you call it, sees red mists, and you can see him sometimes holding stuff in.
Yeah.
And
he gets annoyed. Yeah, he does.
He wants to, and whether that's that Spanish Basque sort of like anger that fieriness in him, and sometimes you just can't take that out.
Yeah,
and sometimes that that's a good thing. But I agree, mate. Yeah, I mean, it'd be good to see what you think, but I do agree that he should at times be careful, but it's very difficult, mate. When you've got
it's difficult because I feel like there's an element of him that wants to be honest and to the point, and wants to also shut down some of their questions. I also like prime example in the Carabao Cup. He mentioned something about the ball. I firmly believe that when he was saying that was a little dig at the players, like, because when he said it, the way he said it was in passing, and he was saying blah blah blah, and the players need to get used to the new ball, because in that game against Newcastle we missed like 3 sitters and they ballooned over the bar. So I feel like that was a little dig to the players. The journalist asked him to repeat himself, and he said, I know you're not using this as an excuse, but what was you just saying about the ball? And he goes, I was just saying that the players need to get used to the ball. And then that was the headline. Mikel Arteta makes an excuse for the ball. Mikel Arteta uses the ball as an excuse. And it wasn't that. It wasn't that. That was a small 2 seconds mention about that ball and the fact that the players need to get used to that ball, i.e., they missed some absolute sitters. They're ballooning them over the bar. They need to get used to the ball. But it's like moments like that comment didn't need to be said. Like, it didn't need to be brought into the conversation. And because of that, us Arsenal fans, him, for the next month or so, people kept on talking about Mikel Arteta makes excuse for the ball, and even to now, we go out against PSG, and the comment section has got, "Oh, was there a problem with the ball?" And it's that now you're labelled with that. You're like excuses FC. Like, this wasn't an excuse. He wasn't making an excuse for the ball. But people don't want to hear that. They just want a headline. And I think he's got to start being a bit more careful with situations like that. Like the other day, you said that we're the best team over 2 legs. We haven't been. The first leg, we weren't. They were all over us in that first leg, and we had moments. We had 10-minute spells, 5-minute spells. And in the Champions League, I said to people afterwards, like, when you get into this stage of the Champions League, it doesn't matter how well you play. It matters about the result. The result is more important than the performance. So if we would have come out that game and got a 1-1 draw and put away some chances or got a win, that's fine. But we didn't. We came out of that game, we lost, and they were all over us in the majority of the game. In the second leg, it was completely different. It was the opposite. We came out playing, we were on top, but we just didn't put it away. And I think if you're going to talk about our performance and how good we were, you've got to curtail it with saying but we're not clinical enough. But we didn't do this enough.
Do you think if we did have, I'm not, would have Havertz made a difference? I don't know. Probably not. May have helped. But do you think if we had a striker there's been a lot of talk that from people I talk to anyway, not so much, in on TV or on radio stations or so the people I talk to is that, look, if you had a striker, you pissed that.
Yeah,
all day.
I don't know about we walk it, but if we have a striker, I think we win one of them legs.
Yeah,
I genuinely think we won one of them legs, because that was the key difference. And I think also when you don't have a striker, the other teams know. They're well aware that Moreno's not a striker. So the danger is what they can see. That they know the dangers. Where you got a striker.
He's done a great job, by the way, though.
He's done a brilliant job. He saved that season. Honestly. Moreno has saved our season. Some people need to apologise to this guy.
That money's paid for already. That is paid for.
100%. Because we'd be scrambling around for a Champions League spot if it wasn't for him. He's been absolutely brilliant. And he's shown a lot of people that he's a class player. And that's a good signing. That's a big bit of business that we've done there. Signing, with 1 year left. Or was it 40 mil all overall?
Was it that much? I thought it was.
I think was it 30 leading to 40, wasn't it? Or something like that.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, could have been.
That's you're talking about most teams for a Premier League level player. You're paying about 30 to 40 million, and I think he's a class player. So I think we've got more than our money's worth. Easily more
100%, yeah.
Look, it's unfortunate. What else I was getting onto before we spoke about that Mikel Arteta's comments was the fallout which I've seen from this. Obviously, there's going to be the Arsenal fans that are a bit wishy-washy, a bit always sitting on the fence and just going game by game off bad result, good result, is whether they want Mikel Arteta as the manager. But I've seen a lot of pundits, rival fans, give their 2 pence worth, and a few of them really annoyed me, because especially when it's coming from
just a few.
Yeah, look, do you know what? It's like I didn't hear too much, and then obviously Man United and Tottenham got through to the final of the Europa League, and I started seeing Tottenham and Man United fans doing videos about how, things really need to change with Mikel Arteta, or I think Arsenal need to get rid of Mikel Arteta. And I'm like, excuse me, off the back of losing to PSG in the semi-final of the Champions League. Are you serious? This is the guy's second attempt in the Champions League. His first attempt, he got quarterfinals. Second attempt, he got semi-finals. Like, what are you talking about? Like, if you had that view before the game and said, look, no matter what, Arsenal needs to really consider Mikel Arteta because look at this league form. This isn't good enough. Then you're adding a bit more credibility to your argument, but you're basing it off the fact that Arsenal got knocked out the semi-final of a Champions League. Are we forgetting how hard it is to win a Champions League? Manchester City have gone through 5 managers to win this Champions League, which they've won for the first time under Pep Guardiola at like the 7th time of asking. And you're talking about Mikel Arteta. Like, the expectation...
It's the Champions League, for God's sake.
Against the wall for Mikel Arteta is getting a bit ridiculous. Like, is Mikel Arteta not a good enough manager? Or where are your expectations with this? Because he gets knocked out the semi-final against PSG, and all of a sudden it's like, Arsenal are better than this. Arsenal needs to be winning the Champions League. Like,
Who's this? Arsenal fan?
But Arsene Wenger tried 20 times and he couldn't do it. Like, so I think we need to relax ourselves a little bit when we're talking about a cup competition as well. The Champions League is the pinnacle of all competitions. It's the one that proves you're the best in Europe, but it's still a cup competition. Like, let's relax ourselves. Yeah, the most important thing to me is the Premier League. It shows that it's a marathon. It shows you can sustain yourself across the season. This isn't a one-off, one patchy here, one patchy there. This is why I'm not entertaining those arguments about who's had the better season. We're talking about comparing ourselves over 40 to 50 games in the Champions League and in the Premier League against a team who has done well in about 10 games.
But at the end of the day,
some two-bob competition.
Who cares? Who cares if
against Dragistan FC, against the Bakers and Butchers, against the Fox and the Hound? You're talking about who's had the better season. Get out of my face and don't waste my time.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous.
And they don't come to you. They don't. No one's ever come to me when they do the Arteta out thing, and told me really why.
Or who
the best they have is we ain't won nothing. Yeah. No, but then I go. But when I turn around and say no, I need you to break this down, right? No, don't give me like I don't want nothing. Don't want nothing. I want you to break it down. This is come in and explain to me why. And they ain't got, and nobody knows. I could break it down in 5 minutes while it's all absolute nonsense. And I'm like you, I just can't get involved in it anymore. Do you know what I mean? In these conversations, because if someone said to me, "Oh, the Arteta out, what do you think?" I'm just like, "Look, I ain't got nothing to say because I can't. I've explained it enough, and I can't do it anymore."
Yeah, no, we'll have a conversation next week when Garth comes on. Look, because it was something we said at the start of the season when he asked that question. I said we'll have this conversation at the end of the season because I don't like having it throughout the season, because what I've said before, what happens is when people ask that question, what happens at the end of the season if? Well, I say let's talk about it at the end of the season, because if we're talking about it now, then you're chipping away at everything he does throughout the season, talking about, he's lost this, he's lost that, well, you're not going to win the league, or you're not going to win the Champions League, or you're not going to do this, you're not. So what's the point in us doing this? Because you're already doing this P45 already.
Yeah, but it's not really, as I say, if Garth wants to, like, when he comes in next week and he's got a different view in it, and we'll listen because it's Garth and he knows his stuff and he gives a good point of view whether we agree or not, and vice versa. So that's all good. But it's simple for any rival fan out there who's listening, is that Mikel Arteta came into this club when the club was just an absolute joke of a club. It was a circus. It was a wreck. The whole team had to be changed when he walks in. The whole club had to be changed from top to bottom. Every single player had to at some point go over the next 3 years. The first season he was given no money, no nothing, and he started bringing players in. He was started bringing back, given lots of money. Now, if you're gonna build a team to challenge for the title, you've got to spend a lot of money before you even start challenging for that title. So this 700 million, 800 million nonsense that I keep hearing that he spent, right? Well, you had to spend 400 million to get to a point to get into challenge for the Champions League, because you had to get rid of 11 players and replace them again. But not one rival fan will come at you with that, because they haven't got the understanding like you or I have.
Mm-hmm.
And then when it gets to the point where he spent loads of money, 500 million, and then he's there to challenge for the league, he's up against the best team in world football that he's had to challenge it with. Now, so whether he's got the best players, world-class players, great players or not, he's still up against the best team on the planet, right, in Manchester City. And they've been better than us, right? So what is he meant to do? What is Mikel Arteta meant to do? Did any of those rival fans think at the time? Did they say that Arsenal were going to win the title when we was up against Manchester City? Yeah. Not one of them did. Not one Man United, not one Man City, not one Liverpool, not one Tottenham, not one Chelsea said we could challenge to Man City. We took them to the last day. We're at present time. This year we've been decimated by injuries, got to semi-final. What? I can't. That took me 5 minutes. Right? I can't see how anybody can come back with me and say a yeah, but to any of that.
Yeah.
I can't. Yeah. There's no. I've gone over this in my head, and there's nobody who could sit in front, whether it's on this screen, whether it's on a phone, whether it's an article, who could reply back to that and come back with me and say something. Well, no, hold on. What about? There's no what about. There's no what about. That's fact, and it's simply put. But people won't go into that context. People won't mention all that. So. Yeah, look, I can't.
Do you think that do you think that some of these people also putting their own expectations and their own club's expectations on Arsenal as well? Because obviously you'll hear an opinion from a Man United fan, a team that dominated the Premier League for 20 years. You'll hear an opinion from a Man City fan who's dominated the league for the last 10. You'll also hear an opinion from a Chelsea fan who bought everything in the last 15, 20 years and were continually winning something, whether it's Champions League, Premier League, and if it wasn't the Premier League, it was every other season, it seemed like. Do you think they're putting their club's expectations on Arsenal and saying, this is what I would expect from my club?
No, I think they're jealous, mate. I think it's a fear. I think it's a fear with these clubs. And they would wish we was in these positions. There's certain fans of certain clubs who've got fears for different reasons. Tottenham and Chelsea are just Tottenham and Chelsea. And at the end of the day, they will always be Tottenham and Chelsea. Chelsea had their little Roman Movinovic era, but as soon as he left, they're back to Stamford Bridge.
They ain't doing nothing. I'm sorry.
That is you.
You ain't doing nothing, Chelsea.
That is who you are, and you're losing Cole Palmer.
Conference League.
You're losing it. Exactly. You're nothing. Tottenham are just Tottenham, aren't they?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But they love to sound off about Arsenal.
I couldn't believe it. I saw a Tottenham fan the day after they got to the final. I saw a Tottenham fan doing a video about how Arsenal need to.
But you haven't got a right to speak.
Fix up.
I feel embarrassed that they speak about Arsenal. I literally sometimes put myself in the person or said person, whoever that may be, when they're mentioning Arsenal, and I'm like, why are you embarrassing it? Why are you mentioning Arsenal? Why are we bothering you that much? You know, sometimes I feel offended that they're actually talking about my club. I'm like, what? You're not my rival. You're nothing to do with us. You're pants. Same with Chelsea. You had your Roman Movinovic here. You had your 20 years. And those two clubs are feared. They've got fearful. They're feared. They don't like the fact that there's a club in London that's bigger and always will be bigger. And he's now, talked about as, future title challenger, two future winners and future Champions League winners, and are always connected with the top signings every summer. That's what they are. Man United have got fear. They're scared. Their fans are frightened, right? Because they're a different kettle of fish. Yeah, they're the biggest club in the land. They're the biggest club in England. They've got more trophies than Arsenal. They've done more. They've won trebles. They've done a lot. At the moment, and over the last few seasons, okay, they won the odd cup, but you know how I feel about that, right? It's an embarrassment. And I think there's a fear amongst Man United fans that they're going backwards. And I think they put their fear out on Arsenal. And just because they're up the top. And Liverpool, I don't know, mate. I thought they was all right until this season.
This season? No, I found out about Liverpool last season.
But
they come out of nowhere as well. Like Liverpool were
I mean, you
very
say they're
quiet, and then we beat them, and it was all of a sudden there was it was weird. It was like some weird, obsessive, quite vicious posts, which they call banter. Which that's their banter, that's their level of banter, and it was just non-stop. It was like, what are you talking about? Oh yeah, Arsenal. I'm like, what? Oh, okay. What it is you lot are chronically online, and you've been hit up by the standard, the same Arsenal accounts that wind you up. Babs, Wellbeast, Santi, Mo. There's a handful of Arsenal accounts, and every team has these accounts on Twitter, by the way, their own versions, and people just get wound up by them. And
I don't
understand. Arsenal fans. It's like, calm down, mate.
Yeah, but I don't get otherwise. I don't care what other clubs do. I really don't. You know how I feel about rivalries. My rivalries was rivals at the time. I think I look back over past years and years and years, going back to the 20s and 30s. I think generally I always worried about whoever was there at the time. I was looking and they were my person when I used to banter a lot. They were the person I used to aim at. But sort of like my taking the mickey out, the banter at. But Yeah, look, I mean, Man City fans, do you know what I mean? They've got a right. Yeah, it's awkward for me because I don't understand why they're so bothered about us. I just don't know why. You know, we're little Arsenal, weren't we? You know, we was like, up until 2006, we had 32,000 people at Highbury. Do you know what I mean? That was us, little old Arsenal, Arsene Wenger, 32,000. You know, winning titles. I don't think they like it. I think a lot of it, mate, comes from the fan base, really, and they just, you know, and they get annoyed by that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's water off a duck's back for me, mate. To be honest with you, because yeah, and unless you're, I mean, Man United and Tottenham and Chelsea, and I don't know how they got the front. You know, at the moment, I think they should just keep quiet.
Yeah, look, they've all got their own troubles, but they are in a European competition. They're in a European final. Steve, how do you think that one's going to go down?
What, the final?
The final.
Oh, mate, it's. Do you know what I was thinking about it today? Funny enough, and the other week we was talking about it, and we were saying that, you know, you Tottenham are pants, Tottenham are this, Tottenham are that, but I think it was just today. I was thinking, you know, I don't know. You know,
you don't know.
I don't know who's the worst team. Who's the worst?
They lost to, because obviously Man United lost to West Ham, which
I don't know who's
shock.
I mean,
West Ham struggled to score.
I mean, Manchester United. I mean, look, forget Tottenham because they're just not relevant, to be honest with you. But Man United, I mean, 17th, mate. I think sometimes you sit there and you've got to let that sink in. 17th.
Yeah, they've been let off. They've been let off big time.
They're going to have to live. They've got to live with that forever. That is banter for a lifetime. So if they wanted, they're never going to live that down. It's worse than, I don't know. I mean, if it wasn't, they should be sending, you know, birthday cards, Christmas cards to Ipswich, Southampton, and Leicester City for the rest of their days, and say thank you so much. Because
so who's had a better season, Steve?
Who?
Out of Man United, Tottenham, and Arsenal.
Oh, mate,
that's
you know.
Put it to bed now, Steve.
Mate, it's embarrassing.
Mate, you can win 2 Europa Leagues in this final, and you ain't had a better season. Tell me you want to relive that season again. Let's see, how many games have you lost? How many games have Tottenham and Man United lost?
36 between them, I think. I think it was something like that. 30-something, 36, 37 games between. That's banter for a lifetime.
Manchester United have lost 17 games this season.
Yeah.
And Tottenham have lost 20 games this season.
37, yeah, 36, 37, yeah.
Ipswich, Tottenham, Manchester United, and West Ham would be in a relegation fight towards the last 2 games of the season.
But West Ham are always. West Ham are down there always.
40 points. Like, that's crazy. Remember that season that Arsenal came 8th, Steve? It was horrible. Horrible. I was horrible. I couldn't. Week to week, he was like, okay, are we going to get a draw against Wolves? Are we going to get a draw against West Ham? Like, where are we going to pick up points? It was honestly the worst time that I can remember in football.
Yeah.
Was those seasons where we came.
I don't even know how to, like. I mean, you'd be able to talk to Garth more. Look, Garth is the one who can.
Yeah, no, he's going to give us his insight on the pain that he's been through this season.
Garth can tell you more because I've never been in this situation before.
Honestly,
I've never known what it's like to be. Look, we can. People say, "Oh, yeah, who do you think to go down?" and all that. When have we ever in our 5 years or in our lifetimes ever spoke about us being in the bottom 5 with 36 games gone and you've got 39 points?
That it's ridiculous. Like, this is what I mean.
Embarrassing.
Don't as in the most disrespectful way. Yeah, Tottenham fans and Manchester United fans, please don't waste my time with this question. Yeah. lost 20 games in the Premier League, Tottenham. 20 games.
You know it's going to come out.
I don't think I can remember Arsenal losing 20 games in the last 3 seasons, let alone 20 games in one Premier League campaign. Like, that is horrible. Horrible.
Yeah, you should answer it. Say yes. You last season you won the FA Cup. You had the better season. This year, you won the Europa Cup and you had the better season. But you're shit and you're sitting in 17th. So hallelujah.
Now, look, God forbid. There's no better season there. There's no look. Arsenal. Look, I think. Look,
the Man United fans know the good. You know the ones.
Yeah, they know. They know because they have higher standards. And honestly, the Man United fans that have those standards, they won't even be asking that question. They won't even entertain it. I think they just want to bury their head in the sand, go through to the summer and see what they can buy and then come out and start a new season. I think they want to forget this season.
Going back to your question
about who's had the better season when you've 17 games in the Premier League. 100%. Awful.
But going back to your question, original question, which was who's going to win the Europa League final?
Yeah.
And I was thinking, I don't know who worse. And I was going through the 2 teams today, in fact. Today, just going through having my lunch, and it just, sometimes these things come in my head, and I'm starting to lean towards Tottenham.
They also lost to Crystal Palace at home.
Yeah, but when you like, it's a one-off game, yeah? It's a one-off game. And to be fair, Man United on one-off games, big games, they do step up.
They have been, yeah, they have been.
They do step up. But as far as who's got the better team, I went through the defence, the midfield, and the strikers, and the goalkeeper, and I ticked Tottenham in every aspect, in every area. I looked at their goalkeeper and Nana and Vicario. I thought, if anybody, Vicario. I looked at Tottenham's defence straight away. Romero, Van der Ven, Udogie, Porro. I'm like, that is tons times better than Man United's defence. All day long. Midfield, maybe Man United just edged that. And up front, Tottenham have got like Son, Kulusevski, Solanke, Maddison, and Matthias Tell. That's better than anything that Man United got.
Yeah.
So for me, they got the better team, better squad. Than Man United, and that just shows you what a massive job Amrorim's got.
yeah.
I mean, to say that Tottenham's got a better squad than you, but I don't think I've said anything like outlandish there.
No, it's not.
It ain't, is it?
No,
I mean,
not.
Ireland or Solanke, you reckon?
No, I mean, Man United have got Bruno Fernandes, and he absolutely slapped Maddison all over the place. Yes.
Casemiro's been stepping up lately as well.
He has been stepping up. And I think that's what Amorim's been doing. He's been leaning on a couple of people he can trust a little bit more. Because he's looking at that team. He's puffing his cheeks quite a lot, thinking this is going to be a tough summer. I've got to try and get the signings as I want. They've got a bed in, and I've got to try and hit the ground running.
What's your thoughts on the manager, Kiz?
Look, whoever wins the Europa League essentially is keeping their job. Do you see Amorim staying in if they lose the Europa League?
Well, I've said for a long while now on this. I've really tried hard to look at positives from Manchester United. I've tried to see things in the way they play. The youngsters and. Yeah, picking out players like Ahmed and that, and Ray Ugarte come in. I thought he started well, and I've been quite vocal on, my thoughts on that they should just leave Amorim alone. Mate, I think I'm wrong. I think I might be wrong. Garth said that if he starts the way next season, he's gone early, and I said, well, maybe Christmas. I think it could be sooner, earlier than that. Well, I'm not even. I think
being generous.
Do you know what? I think Do you know what I've got fooled by? You know what I think I've got a little bit fooled by is that he talks very well in those press conferences. I like what he says, but what he says ain't what he does on the football pitch.
Yeah, look, Man United.
I mean, he may be.
They lost 4-3 to Brentford, 1-0 against Bournemouth away from home. Not a bad result. Lost 1-0 at home to Wolves, 4-1 at Newcastle, 0-0 to Man City, 1-0 to Nottingham Forest. Just beat Leicester, drew with Arsenal. Yeah, just about beat Ipswich, drew with Everton. Like, it's not good. It's not good. And if you ask Garth, you look at the squad's not great, but it's not a team that should be sitting in 17th, is it? And that's the problem. If he can't do something with this group of people, look, when Arteta came in, he didn't have the squad that he wanted, and he didn't have the players that he wanted. Like they were not good at all, and we saw him move into different formations to get us through games. Dropped in at 3 at the back, this and that. So we changed it around. Amorim's staunchly sticking to his formation.
Yeah. Do you think he knows any other way?
I don't know. He must do.
If he can't, he won't last 5 minutes in this league, because this league, if you've got to be a top manager where, if you want to get up to the top, top ends of the Premier League, you can't just play one way.
Yeah, you can't.
Arsenal and Man United and Liverpool, they changed their formations like 20 times during one football match.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? There's no set formation. You can't have a set formation and that's the way then you like, well, there you go, off you see what you can do.
Well, Conte came into the league and he played a certain style, and he was getting kicked about all over the place. And I think it was one game which made him think, I need to change this up, and he changed into 3 at the back. So it's a bit more solid at the back, and they had
but look at the players they had, though.
It worked out for them. They had Alonso, which rejuvenated his career at Chelsea. He had a couple of seasons where he was one of the best defenders in the league, along with his attacking abilities as well. So it's completely different. Do
you know why as well?
Got that, and they'd have to buy for that, and he hasn't got that time or budget. No. So there's a serious concern. There is a serious.
You see as well with that Conte thing. Some people say, well, it works with Conte. See, that was new at the time in the Premier League.
Yeah, it was.
So everybody was like, what?
Yeah.
What's this? What do we do? You know what it's like, don't you? When a team starts doing something different, you're like, well, all of a sudden, like when Pep come, you're like, well, what's this? We've got to try and adapt to, and then he changed, and it's the same with Arsene Wenger when he come. Whoa, hold on a minute. Even Man United were like, Jesus Christ, what's this formation? They're playing, he's doing it, they're doing that. They had to, those like Conte and Wenger had to change. They changed football at Pacific 2 times, of the Premier League.
Mm-hmm.
So, but then it takes time. But then after a while, that dies out.
Yeah,
it died out with Wenger. You had to change again, and same with Conte. Yes, it worked for like a few years, but then people suss it out, and then you've got to change. And the big question is, can Amrorim change if he wants to be there for a long time?
We're not seeing any evidence of that, and I think that's the major concern.
Mm-hmm.
You're not seeing any evidence that he can adapt his game, change his formation, that he wants to change his formation. And to be fair, he's got through to the point now where he's changing his formation going to look like a little bit of a weakness, because he's stuck to it so staunchly. That's what you associate with Amrorim, this 3 at the back. He needs to win the Europa League to save.
Because they had trouble beating Spurs, didn't they? United.
They've lost 3 times. Although the last time they lost to them was possibly the most embarrassing match I've ever seen in my life. It was both goalkeepers letting two absolute clangers each. Fraser forced the pass in the ball to Man United. The Man United second goalkeeper coming in and having an absolute stinker as well. So but Man United's record against Tottenham is not good at all. So Man United fans will be worrying about that game.
I think for him to be, as I say, look, we can only sort of judge our opinion on what we see at the time. And at this time now, I think he needs to change something in his his formation, his system that he likes to play. Whether he can swap it around during the game, it's all right saying, "Oh yeah, I can change it from that formation to that formation." That's not even good enough in today's football. You're changing. Players have to be like, playing every position. Every player has to play in every position, and this is why people get confused with Arsenal kids, and they get like, oh, well, why did you buy another left back? But we never really bought another left back. Calafiori wasn't another left back. He was a left back, come midfielder, come forward, come centre back, because that's what Arsenal do. Sometimes he drops into centre back. Sometimes Calafiori will move into midfield. Sometimes you'll find Calafiori, as the game goes on, up front on the edge of the area. They're not left backs anymore. Do you know what I mean? But so I don't know, mate. I don't know. He's got a tough job, and jury's out, mate, at the moment.
It is out. It's very much out on Ange Postecoglou as well, man. He was looking like he was walking very swiftly to the job centre with his 20 losses this season, and off the back of a poor end to the season last season as well. And it seems like he's in a position where even some Tottenham fans I'm hearing, even if he does win the Europa League, they're saying he should move on and it's time to go still.
Yeah.
But look, if someone's going to get you back into that Champions League position, that's a position you should have been pushing for last season. I mean, if it's a quick shortcut to it, I think it'd be pretty arse to not.
Yeah. One thing I will say, mate. I mean, about this. I mean, we've had this like, should Tottenham and Manchester United be allowed to go into the Champions League, and it's wrong. But you can't. I don't think you can't say that now.
Yeah, the rules have been the rules for how long now?
Yeah, exactly, mate. Yeah, look, you look at it and you think like, without speaking, you turn around and say, yeah, all right, they shouldn't really be there, 17, because they've been crap all season, and that's not fair on a team that finishes 6th, who's been like had a really good season. But I'm sorry, it's the rules. And as much as like, maybe I don't like it, and maybe you don't like it, and you don't think it's fair, it is, because that's the rules, and that's the way they've always been.
This season, it's been there for a few seasons now, isn't
it? You can't call them out and say, that they don't deserve to go in it. Yeah, they do, because that's the prize at the beginning. You know what the prize is, and if they get in, they get in. And Manchester United have got to get in. Man United, they've got to get in, because even if, and I'll tell you why they've got to get in. My opinion, why they got to get in is because the likeliness that they're going to get in next year is very, very low. Right? There's top 4 next year, Man United, looking at them now, or top 5. No chance.
Yeah.
Well, you can never say no chance, because in football you can never say no chance. You never would have said Man United would be 17th. But it's unlikely they're going to be in the Champions League next season. So they've got to take this while they can. I've heard Man United fans say, no, I don't want to be in it. I don't want to be in it.
I can't stand that.
You've got to be in it.
Be in it. Pull your big pants up, you softie. It doesn't even matter if you're getting knocked out. You need the money.
Exactly.
You need the money to survive.
Because you ain't going to get there next year.
Big institutes like Man United can't afford to not be in the Champions League. You have to be in there. You have to be. Look how much we suffered from not being in the Champions League for all those years, Steve. Yeah. I didn't realise at the time, but what you do realise is a year upon year, your signings get weaker and weaker and weaker. So it's harder to get in there. It's hard to get in there. And then it gets to the point where you're used to Europa League football is your football now. And it's so hard to get out of that. And then you're thinking about, how can I get out of this? Because the players aren't good enough to push in the league, because the clubs that were in the top 4 for the last 3 seasons in a row, they're getting stronger. They're getting better. That gap's widening. So the only way I can see us getting into the Champions League is through winning this competition. And that's not easy. Like, we make jokes about you playing people from the arse end of Uzbekistan, But that's a challenge within itself.
Yeah.
None of these competitions are easy to win. Like, it doesn't matter who you're facing along the way. They come with their own challenges, especially when you're going away from home. We got knocked out teams like Sporting Lisbon, Olympiacos. Solid teams in that competition. Outside of it, you're looking on paper like, oh, Arsenal should beat these teams. You go to Greece in an evening, it's intense. And it's not like that on paper. Trust me. Trust me.
Seems like Man United have got to be in Champions League, but it is about. Look, I think you get about 12 million for winning the Europa League, so that's a start. And then just for getting in the Champions League, I think you get something like about 18 million just for being. Just for being in it. So straight away you got 30 million. But I'm getting told by some Man United fans that I don't want to be in it. I don't want to be in it because we'll get knocked out. Well, what are you on about?
Stop.
It's £2 million. £2 million every game you win. Every game you win is £2 million. Arsenal, look, Man United are not going to get where Arsenal have this season, right? They're 3-4 years off that, maybe 5, right? But Arsenal earned over £100 million in this Champions League this season.
Yeah.
And I'm hearing and Man United need money more than ever. So I wouldn't care if I got beat 4-0 in every single Champions League group game, because I'll be earning money every game. Whether you win or lose, you get money.
You need to
TV rights, advertising.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
It's not good not being in that Champions League. Honestly, the notion where it's like, what's the point in being in it if you're not going to win it? Sorry, it's rubbish. Sorry.
How can you say that?
And look, you're consistently in it, and you're pushing yourself to the semi-finals, quarterfinals. You will eventually get to a final. One time along the way, you're going to win it. And those games against Barcelona, the wins against Real Madrid, the wins against PSG, those are the memories that you have from going along the way that you've got in to try and get to that point where you win it. The notion that it doesn't matter that winning these games and winning that game if you don't win it is absolute garbage, and it usually comes from people that actually aren't in the competition themselves. It's a nonsense statement. The Champions League, every match is a moment. Every match has the potential to be a moment. Like, you're playing against the best teams in Europe. That music. That's why when Aston Villa played in the quarterfinals and they played the Europa League music, I'd have been fuming because that's a massive part of it.
I mean, you could draw. They could draw like Barcelona or Real Madrid or Bayern and get a sneaky 1-0 win at Old Trafford, right? It's more than possible. Look where Real Madrid and PSG were. At the end of the group this stage, they were down the bottom. Yeah, you could give your fans a great night. Yeah, do you know what I mean? Give them something to smile. I don't. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I don't understand. I don't understand people's thinking of that one, but it is a lot of people think it, but maybe they just don't think.
Fans last year saying that they didn't want to be in the Champions League because they're not ready for it. Well, following that talk, your transfer window was as it was because you weren't in the Champions League, and I'll tell you what, it will be a completely different transfer window if you do get into the Champions League this season as well. Trust me. Finally, before we get to the transfers, we saw Trent Alexander-Arnold, a Liverpool legend, a local lad, come on yesterday to a crowd of boos every time he touched the ball, when he was warming up, when his name was being called out on the tannoy. Look, as I said before, we don't have a right to say how Liverpool fans should feel, but I don't think they're listening. You can feel how you want to feel, but we also have opinion on how you feel and how you're reacting, or not so much how you feel, how you're reacting to that. And our opinion, as a general consensus, is the treatment of Trent Alexander-Arnold is disgusting. Yeah. You can talk about you can talk about how he was being sneaky and this and that. The moment that a player gets down to 2 years left in their contract and the club are unsure as to whether he's going to sign a contract, they need to be looking to sell him. If they do not sell him and he works his contract down to the final year, then that's on the club, not the player. I'm sorry, the club have a duty at that point to be saying, look, Alexander, we need to get some money for you. We're going to sell you. You're off. Like, you're off. We can't have you sitting here and winding down your contract. At the moment, you're worth 60 mil. At the moment, you're worth 50 mil. And month by month, that's going down. We can't afford to lose you on a free. They should have seen it coming. It was silly. It was silly. He made his announcement. He's leaving at the end of the season. People have had their time to grieve. But doing that in the stadium, and then they want to turn around and try and blame Trent for coming on, that it changed the mood. Like, what is going on in your head? What's going on in your head? You're going to blame the player who got booed for the reason why you end up drawing with Arsenal yesterday. Steve, what's your take on the orchestra of boos to Trent Alexander-Arnold?
Yeah, it's disgusting, mate. Absolutely disgusting. Did it surprise me? No, because the build up from what way Liverpool fans have been talking, in groups that I'm in and speaking to whoever. It didn't surprise me because it seems to be the majority of Liverpool fans who feel like this, and. Yeah, whether it's whether all fans have a certain personality trait, but yeah, I mean I've never ever booed an Arsenal player, never. With they've left, I'm upset. With Fabregas, Amrorim, Van Persie, left and stuff, but I've never been like that. And people say, "Oh, you don't understand. He's a sort of a homeboy. He's a Liverpool lad. He's been with the club since 6. Well, that should be even more fucking reason, you donuts. Not to. I've heard that so many times from Liverpool fans. I've seen it from Carra. I've seen it from other Liverpool pundits and stuff saying it. I'm like, how is that a thing? How is that a thing because he's a Liverpool lad? Why does that make what his decision any different?
And they tried to use Saka as an example. If Saka was to leave, you're telling me you would send him off with a nice ovation?
Yeah, I would.
And mate, excuse me, if Saka helped us win 2 Premier Leagues and a Champions League from now on going forward, you better believe the thank you that we would be giving Bukayo Saka would be the biggest thank you ever. It would make you not look stupid. It would embarrass you because this is what you don't understand. You keep on saying, using poor example. Well, what about RVP? RVP went to Manchester United. How is that the same as Trent going to
But
Real
Madrid? even then, kids, I'm not far from where you are on RVP. It absolutely killed me. I was gutted. But taking away from all that, it's like I always try to do. I'm trying to see it from the other side, and I got it a little bit. He was coming up to 30. Arsenal were never going to be winning the Premier League, and he wanted to win it. So I got that. I just it was annoying. He went to Man United, but he got proved to right in his own decision what he did, and he went and won it. And I think the hate thing that Van Persie and Arsenal got has come from like the continuous hate towards Van Persie. I don't think he would have had the 8 for Arsenal if Arsenal would have given him the 8. But I got it.
It is. It's the other way. It's Arsenal fans are still hurting at the fact that he went to direct rivals. Man United have been our rivals by that point for at least 10 years now. By that point.
Yeah. I mean,
and it hurt. It hurt.
Yeah.
Seeing a player go to Man United after seeing, I think by that point we'd already seen players go to Man City. We had seen players go Man City, and it was like we probably took out our anger on Van Persie when we should have been directing our anger a little bit more to the club.
Well, a similar scenario would be right if Alexander Isak went to Arsenal. Right? How would those Newcastle fans react to that? Because although between Arsenal and Man United, I mean, was Arsenal and Man United fighting out for titles at the time? I don't think they was they?
No, but
there wasn't like a direct
Arsenal were very much at that point where a similar point where they are now, where they needed to buy a couple of players to take us to that next step.
And he took us
and
back.
They weren't doing
another
it.
one, didn't he? Yeah.
And I think Van Persie. Look, this is where I can agree with Van Persie. Van Persie got to that point where he was like, "What are we doing? Like, what are we doing now?"
It was always two more players.
It was always two more. We need this, we need that, but what are we doing? And it's a fair question. It's a fair question because look, I'm reading it. What are we doing? Like we're in this situation now. We ain't won the league for a few seasons. We had Champions League a couple of seasons ago. Where are we going from now? Because that hurt us not winning the Champions League, and we're not really progressing at the moment. What are we doing? We need this player. We need this player. We need this player. I think we should. And at that point there, they turned around and said, "Look, we're not going to go in your direction. We're going to have to sell." So, look, Arsenal have been there before.
I think we got 29 million. That rings a bell. I think we got 29 million for him. Van Persie.
I think it's 24.
Was it 24?
Yeah,
maybe.
Yeah, I say I think I know.
Yeah, you may be right, mate. You may be right.
Like I said, my brother
was around there when it
brother bought me a signed Van Persie top after he joined Man United. So that's my family member.
Still not talking to him to this day.
The shirt's still in the box, mate. I wasn't going to throw it away. The shirt's in the box.
Oh no,
it's not left the box.
Might be worth something, mate. Get it on eBay. Sell it. But no, it's bang out of order. It should, footballers don't do that. I mean, Andy Robinson got it spot on, didn't he?
Yeah.
Do you know what
I was going to say, I think Carragher, in the position that he is, he's fanning the flames a bit and I don't like it. And I think he has a duty of responsibility, being an old Liverpool club captain, being a pundit on Sky, so his voice is heard by millions. To dampen those flames, because what he keeps on saying is very much adding fuel to the fire. Yes, you don't understand. Liverpool fans feel this way because Trent did this, Trent did that. Like everything you're saying, mate, is making it worse. Yeah. So either shut up on the situation, or
you don't have to shut up
down a bit, because what you said the other day was an absolute disgrace. Yeah. Trent shouldn't even come on the last game. He shouldn't do the parade. He shouldn't walk around at the end to say goodbye to Liverpool fans. Because you imagine being at a club for 20 years and you're telling him that on the final opportunity he has to say goodbye to the fans, you're saying he shouldn't even come around. Like, what are you talking about? Like, the things you're saying are like I don't like what Carragher's doing. And he's just doubled down in it. It's poor. Yeah. It's poor from him.
I mean, players leave clubs, right? But that's the worst goodbye I've seen towards a player who's done what he's done for that football club.
Yeah.
It's like you can be sad, you can be you have that little bit of like, oh, Trent.
Yeah.
Right. But if you've got an answer, if you've got a sort of a handful of brain cell, right, you can't. And again, I always go back to this scenario. If you're his dad and he comes to you and said, "Oh yeah, we do this, they do this, they don't take the family, live in Spain, got Real Madrid, great," he said, "What are you going to say? What are you going to say?" "Nah, just stay in Liverpool your whole life, mate."
They don't get it. They don't get it. One fan
turned
around to me today and he said he's meant to be a fan. He calls himself a fan. Why would you think about leaving this club? He's playing for his hometown club. I'm like, mate, it's Real Madrid. There's one club on this planet that if they come knocking, there's a chance your player's going to go.
If it was going Arsenal or Man City, I'd be like, oh, jeez, that's going to really piss them off. And I'll be like, yeah, that's naughty. Yeah, that's naughty. Because that's a little bit throwing it in everybody's face. But he's not throwing it in Liverpool's face. He's not throwing it in your faces. He's been there since he was 6 and won everything there is to win. So he's not throwing it, and he's not staying in the Premier League. He's going to have a better life, to play for the bigger
time.
None of it makes sense. And the scary thing is, And the most disgusting thing of it all is that it's really sort of put a slant on Liverpool Football Club as a whole.
Yeah,
because it's like it weren't just a little few. That was
that was mentality 60%. There. No,
that was like 60% of like the brand.
It was, that's what someone was saying. Someone was saying it was a large percentage, and I was just like, every time you kick the ball, and then you go online, everyone's justifying it, like, it was poor. Like a fair few people said that Liverpool a classy club, Liverpool classy.
No, not
anymore. A lot
of
things you've seen recently that's questioning that. And I'm not, and I don't have to do that all fans. It's boring. We're adults here, but the same way as you will label Arsenal fans off a few, there's no reason not to think that this is Liverpool fans as well. Look, we've seen people booing a club legend in Trent Alexander-Arnold, and also I see a few of those banners going around with Mikel Arteta in a dress.
What's wrong with why? I mean, again, it's another question. It's like, why are? I mean, I don't know about whether like our fan base does it too. I don't know, but that's actually relevant. To what I'm going to say. Why are they so bothered about what Arsenal do? Why are clubs so? Because it seems that every club wants to have some say about what Arsenal are doing. I don't know.
I don't know, mate. I don't know. There's a lot of focus on Arsenal. There's a lot of focus on Mikel Arteta. It's crazy to me how many people have something to say about Mikel Arteta.
I don't even know what to say.
That's the one that I don't get. Like, so many of the rival clubs fans talk about Mikel Arteta getting the sack. What's going to happen next with him? And I think to myself, like, I don't get it. Maybe it's because a lot of Arsenal fans talk, and then because of that talk, then that's the reaction to them saying, well, you're talking a lot, but what's he done? But I do really find it weird when I see posts from rival fans talking about, you need to move on from Mikel Arteta. Because it's like, why?
But why can't they?
I don't get it. I don't get it. But
I mean, I'm obviously not going to go through it all again. But I don't. It took us. Yeah, I mean, I explained it earlier. It took me 5 minutes. For people who've missed it, go back and listen to it. But I generally don't. If anybody can come up with an answer to any of what I said, about what Arteta's done and the Man City thing and the Liverpool this season and the amount of money that had to be spent, in the early part of his tenure to get us to like a point where we was going to challenge for Champions League, and actually that winds me up, mate. It winds me up when people say, well, he spent 800 million. Well, he had to spend 5 because the old 15 players had to be shipped out. But I think just fans are too stupid to go back into that and work it out. Or they're not stupid. They're just are not a breath of what has happened over those years and how that money had to be spent at certain times. So do you know what I mean? Man United, to get all that team needs replacing, the whole lot of them. Even Bruno Fernandes, because he's coming up to 30. They're looking for a replacement. I know for a fact they're looking for a replacement, and they should be. He's getting on there.
Yeah.
Right? That whole team needs replacement. Right? You've already spent, God knows, what, $1 billion? Was it? Near on $1 billion? And look at the state here. And you're going to have to spend, and look at it, and you're going to have to spend another 800 million to get rid of all that lot and get another team in.
Well, one question I always ask people when they talk about Mikel Arteta getting the sack is, who are you getting in to replace him?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, and I mean that like I'm asking you that question. Who are you getting in to replace him? And don't tell me who could do the job, because at the amount of time I ask, well, who, and they say Inzaghi, Flick, and I'm like,
no, but you know why they name them names? Because they're the only top names they know.
Yeah,
so they just Inzaghi,
why
Flick.
is Inzaghi going to come to Arsenal with his team in the Champions League final twice in the last 4 years, isn't it? They've won the Italian league. Why is he coming to Arsenal to do the job there? And remember, Mikel Arteta has come second and got to the semi-final of the Champions League. So the next man who comes in has to win the Premier League and the Champions League, because that's what you're talking about. That's the levels you're talking about. He's got to come in and be better than Mikel Arteta, not the same as. Not, Mikel Arteta came second 3 years in a row. Well, what's the problem? No, because I'm not changing the manager to get someone in who's going to be the same. Yeah. He has to come in and win the league and the Champions League, because that's the expectation.
But that's where we are. That's Arsenal. That's Arsenal's next step.
That's it.
Our next step is not getting in the Champions League places. Yeah. Our next step isn't winning the FA Cup.
It's got to be our next step to show progression in the Champions League has to be we get to a final.
And that may never happen, mate. But does that make Arteta a bad manager?
No, it doesn't.
Or Arsenal a bad team?
No,
it's the Champions League, for God's sake.
I fully believe we can get in the final in the next couple of years, Steve. Yeah, I don't think these last 2 years.
You won't bet your ass on it, though, would you? Though?
No, but I don't think these last 2 years were a fluke. And last year against Bayern Munich, I think we were a bit shell shocked.
Yeah, we was
by what we had to do. We was naive in moments when we learned.
Naive's the word, mate. Naive's the word.
Then we had that bravery and we took that into the Real Madrid game, but we kind of lost it in that first leg against PSG. And you can't afford to do that. You've got to have that belief that you can beat every team.
Yeah, another big thing is that the majority of these players. I was talking to Jamie Jackson, Manchester correspondent. The guy, I was talking to him today, and we were chatting. We were both saying, who's going to come in? I mean, Arteta's brought all those players in, and 80% of them have come because of him.
Yeah,
and he's built that team. That's his team.
Yeah.
So if you're going to bring in, if he leaves or he gets a sack and a Xavi or Flick or Inzaghi comes in, then players are going to be seriously pissed.
Yeah,
really pissed off, and they won't play for him. They won't play for him.
You don't sack a manager when you're looking to tie down long-term contracts of some of the best players in your team in Saliba.
He's buying all of these Spanish players from the Basque region.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Come on. He's not, let me tell you something, he's not going nowhere. He's not going this season. If we don't win it next season, he's not going. So forget it. If you can't read into and see what's going on in front of your faces, then I can't help you. And that's why, now when the comment comes, I'm just I have to put my hands up and say, look, I can't. Yeah. I mean, he's bought half our team's Spanish now. Do you know what I mean? Because of, and he's bringing in a player to mould his Arteta around Arteta.
Yeah.
They're not going to sack him. They're not going to get rid of him. So he's not under any pressure. So all these people who think he's under no pressure at all. I mean, if he's we ended up 10th or something.
I think Mikel Arteta, with the person that he is, that we've come to know, the pressure that he has is his own pressure.
Yeah,
he's putting his own pressure on him, and that's why I think he has these moments in the press conferences, because he has his own expectations, and when he sees the team aren't doing that and delivering that, he gets annoyed.
Do you know? Yeah.
And look at the reaction of the Liverpool game the other day. Because no matter how the team feels about getting knocked out of PSG, that's done. We move on. We're in the league now, and we're against the champions. Fix up. And in that 100%. First half, we were not good. Saliba was all over the place. His head was still in Paris. And he said that's not good enough.
No,
it doesn't. Yeah, okay, we pulled it back, but we shouldn't have been in a situation where we had to pull it back. And I agree. We need to make sure that going forward, we're keeping those.
See, rival fans, not so much City and Liverpool fans, but rival fans seem to think that, if he wins the FA Cup, but that's all right. He's going to be think better of it. Look, we've already said, winning any cup, any competition, no matter what it is, it's a great day out. It's great. We all want to win. We all go down the pub after, get drunk, celebrate, have a party. It's great. It's fantastic. It's silverware. But it's no measure of who you are. as a manager.
No, it's not.
Or your players,
But
or your team.
I feel like
It's nothing. It doesn't mean anything
because of what he has done, because of where we are. Adding some trophies to his name, to the club's name. Yeah.
You've still got to be a certain. If you win the FA Cup and finish fourth, you're like,
no. But I'm talking about being to be in the standards that we have set. Like, because over the last 3 seasons, we have been one of the best teams in the league. Yeah, we've been over the last 2 seasons one of the best teams in Europe, and to watch it, to see how organised we are, to think that this team has only won 1 trophy in the last, like, has not won a trophy in the last 3 years. Forget about the 2 years before that, because we're not counting those 2 years a weekend. So the last 4 years we haven't won a trophy. I think this team deserves it. It's not about this team deserves it. They deserve a day out. These players, the Sakas, the Erdegaards, who deserve to be a captain of a team who's won something, which will hopefully give him with confidence. Rice, Gabriel Saliba, they deserve to be in a cup final, to have that experience. As a team, they will remember that day. Like, that's one thing that I think we forget, is look at Newcastle the other day when they won the Carabao Cup. It's the Carabao Cup, but to players like Bruno Gomes, they don't care. It's a cup. And the day out that the fans had, the
definitely, mate. I mean, I've been brought up on
that togetherness within the team. And I think that's important for a team to be successful. And this team
would have been nice. It would have been nice
to be a seriously successful team. And I'm not just talking about the old Arsenal with Arsene Wenger, where it was like every other season we're winning the league, but then within that season we might win the cup or something. Like, mate, honestly, I see this team, I see this manager, and I there's no reason for me not to feel like this manager can repeat what Wenger done. This manager can overshadow what we've seen Klopp done, which they're backslapping him about. Like, because like the way he talks, the way I see the team put out, like the progression that we've had year on, year out. It's this is why I will argue the fight his corner and say there's no way this guy needs to get the sack. We're so close. It's annoyed by rival fans talking about it, because I'm like, you're not in it, so you're seeing it from the outside. You should be in it, like, because honestly, to be in a position where Arsenal drop points, like have a draw, and it's like, whoa. To have that feeling of going week to week and not knowing that you're going to win, but it's like, no, we've got this game, we're winning this game. I won't forget that time when we came 8th. I won't forget that time, because it was horrible. Right now, I'm enjoying it, and I feel like we can enjoy it more if we put some trophies in there.
Look, I mean, I remember going to I remember winning the 2 cups when we finished 10th. Do you know what I mean? I went both games, and it was great, and it felt good, and it would be lovely, wouldn't it, if we would have finished second to Man City, took them to the last day, and won a cup.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And I get what you mean. And considering the way our season panned out and the way we performed throughout,
it's a consolation prize.
We deserved it.
Yeah, we this team.
But I think it's more about that. It's more about what the team deserves.
Yeah.
Than actually winning it. It's like you feel it. You was great that season. You was like 1 kick away from lifting the title. You deserved an FA Cup. You deserved
something. And this is why I'm not buying into people that say it has to be the league or the Champions League, because like in the seasons you can't win them trophies. The Champions League, I feel like people are talking about the Champions League like it's an easy thing to win. Like, it's not. There's like 7 names on the bloody trophies the whole time. It's the time the Champions League format's been around. Like, it's ridiculous. It's very hard. It's very hard to win since it's gone from a knockout tournament to the Champions League tournament. Like, it's double hard to win.
Yeah,
like,
it's not easy. It's not easy, mate. It's not.
So to say that Arsenal have to win the Premier League or the Champions League, like, I think you're setting expectations very, very high. But
it's like these things are like what, he should have won it. Do you know what I mean? And you say, what? We should have beat City those 2 times. You know, you thought we was favourites then those 2 times we lost to City. And then they go, well, no. And then you're like, what are you fucking on about him?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's like you feel like, whether I'm getting old and I just want to grab people's necks and say, wake up. You're talking your backside.
Is it achievement? Is it an achievement for Arsenal to get to the semi-final of the Champions League? And he was like, no. He was like,
I totally disagree.
What was your expectations of Arsenal? He goes, well, to get to a semi-final. He goes, did you think they were going to get past Real Madrid? He goes, no. So they're overachieving. So it should be a sense of achievement.
Yeah, and it's like Arteta should be sacked. It's like Arteta should be sacked. He should be sacked. Why? Well, you ain't won the league. Why? Again, like I said, so you think you thought we was going to beat Man City then? Those for 3 seasons when we was up against them. No, you weren't as good as them. And you're like, what?
Yeah.
What are you on about then?
Yeah.
What
Take a step back and just.
And it's like, but then they'll contrive something, and you're like, oh God, what the fuck?
Do you know what I mean? In his last 3 seasons, Arsenal should have won something to sort of add a little bit of substance to what they're actually doing now.
Yeah,
what they're actually doing now is
it
really
would have been
good.
nice, wouldn't it? It would have been nice.
Credit. It gets no credit from anyone outside of the fan base, and some people within it, to be fair, because there's not a trophy next to his name, and that's it,
mate. If next season we went and won the FA Cup and we won the League Cup, right? The dozy ass supporters out there, right? If we finished 3rd or 4th, they'd be like, "Oh, you ain't had a good season because you meant to win the league." And that's the mentality of today's football fan, mate. And you know it. And that's just not the football fan. That's pros. That's former pros you listen to. The
league's the most important.
It's bread and butter,
mate. You can't be dropping off. Like, again, that what you just said there. That's a consolation. That's a covering up for you haven't had a good league.
Yeah, I mean that's a good. That's like a deserved. I mean, it can be a consolation, And when you're an Arsenal fan, you're like, see, me as an Arsenal fan, if next year we did win 2 cups and finish 4th, I'd be great.
I think that's a concern because
I'd still be like,
no, because you dropped right there. You've dropped into 4th. So that would be my concern. You've dropped.
I would. I mean, a lot of some Arsenal fans would. I would harp on that. That play on my mind.
Yeah, that would play on my mind. That would play on my mind. This is why I said, like, we can't come under. We can't drop off at the end of the season.
Can't drop off in the league. You can't drop off in the league.
There's a standard you've set.
It's silly
if you're
to
not going
say.
to be the best, you've got to try and be the second best. You can't be thinking second is the same as 5th. It's not. It's not the same. There's money involved. There's a reputation. There's a standard you've got to uphold as a club. If you start allowing your players in the club to think it's okay to drop off to 5th because we're not gonna, you can't have that. Once I would worry. I would worry if I was hearing murmurs from that.
I mean, some seasons are unprecedented. It's like I've been quoted saying to a few people that wherever Arsenal finish now, my analysis of the season would not change. On the players, it's I know why we didn't win the league, and I know this, that, and the other. Yeah. So if we did drop to 3rd, my analysis wouldn't be any different from if we finish 2nd. Obviously, we want to finish 2nd. Obviously, like I'm keeping because it's just you want to finish 2nd, didn't you? Yeah. Do you know what I mean? But my analysis wouldn't change. My thought process wouldn't change.
Mm-hmm.
But look, we all want to win FA Cups and thingy cups and all that. But it does take a little where you are in that league, especially when your next step, especially when what fans have got to realise when you're Arsenal and your next step is winning the Champions League or winning the title. Anything in the league that takes you back is going to play on your mind.
Yeah,
past any FA Cup, because
Yeah,
we'll enjoy it on the day. We'll celebrate it and we'll be buzzing. But when you at the end of the season you analyse it, you'll be sitting there thinking.
I think
go
these cups are a better opportunity for Mikel Arteta to rotate his squad and keep people fresh, because that's one thing I'm critical of under Arteta is his lack of use of squad players. Now this season we've seen it a lot more.
Yeah,
maybe sometimes it was forced, but he needs to trust the players that he's got in his ranks.
Yeah, I think it's a big thing. I think you said the other week it was forced a little bit. I think you're right.
Players are being overplayed. We sold Smith Rowe. Fabio Vieira went out on loan. Martin Odegaard's had to play pretty much every game in that number 10 spot since he's come back from injury, and we suffered massively when he wasn't playing as well. So we can't rely on Ethan Wanyeri. He's 17. He's been seen that his body can't handle it yet, and we can't force that. That's a body mechanics thing, and you can't account for that as a youngster. So you've got to play him when you can and not force him when you need. That's the reason why there's got to be another option in there. So yeah, we've got to start trusting some of our other players. Otherwise, we're banging trouble again, because you're looking at the bench now, and it's weak. We've got 3 defenders on there. We've got Raheem Sterling that's never going to play, and we've got youngsters that are just they're not ready.
It's going to be a big summer, mate.
It's a massive summer. It's a massive summer, and it's not, for me. It's not about selling players either. Like the Zinchenko's and the Tierney's will probably go, but like the rest of the players, I'm not looking to sell anyone. Previously, my views have changed on the likes of Trossard and Martinelli. If you can bring in a player where they're still in the squad, then they play. They're in the squad. I'm sorry, you've got to start being selfish and start thinking about Arsenal Club rather than these players.
They're happy to stay. They're happy to
stay. They stay.
Arsenal Arsenal in a good place at the minute. Over the last couple of windows, we've had to get through it. Basically, we've had to sell one, buy one, in and out, and 1 for 1 and all that lot. But this year's a totally different game. Arsenal have, I've heard this. We could be bringing in up to 4 or 5 players.
I'd like them to do. We'll get onto the transfers in a sec. I'd like them to probably be a bit savvy, whether it's getting in a youngster that knows his role, that he's going to sit on the bench and come in when he can and be a rotation, or you're going to buy a wily old fox who's got a couple of years in them on a free or whatever, and they sitting on the bench and know their position. I think we've got to be smarter with it. Like what we did with
Arteta was looking
Trossard
at
sweet.
Weren't he? Huh? Arteta was looking at Morata in January. They were floating around there.
There we go.
So,
the Ollie Watkins one you said previously, where it was Ollie Watkins as another option, as another striker. That's the kind of business that when I hear that, I'm like, they're not messing around. They're buying to win the league now. They're buying to push in multiple competitions. Like that's the kind of transfer window I want. Some really astute signings. Speaking of transfers, we're going to get onto the transfers now before it gets too late. First and foremost, obviously, we've seen Martin Zubimendi, a story that you spoke about in January, Steve. That deal was confirmed by Fabrizio Romano the other day. We've been speaking about this pretty much every week where we come on the show. And you have said along the whole time not to really worry about Real Madrid. Yes, they are interested in him, but they would take a lot from the time where Xavi Alonso comes in and whatnot. It's not going to be an easy transfer to do for them. Obviously, they have to pay straight up his release clause, and it's still very much in the favour of Arsenal. That is all confirmed. Tell us about the deal a little bit for anyone that hasn't seen it or has been under a rock.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I actually broke the story on Friday, which that he had signed, and then Fabrizio came out literally Saturday morning, and like you said, confirmed it. So look, it's one that's been in, probably the worst kept secret for a while now. It's one that I've been asked countless times on here, what's happening with Zubimendi? Is he signing? Similar to the Mourinho one. I was saying, don't worry, it's done. Don't worry, it's done. It's done. Don't worry about it. But fans get concerned. And yeah, look, Arsenal got to trigger the release clause, and signed, sealed, and delivered, and he'll be an Arsenal player next season. And yeah, I can't wait. He's an excellent player. He's one Mikel Arteta's wanted for a long while.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks like he's not coming in to replace Thomas Partey, which is good news.
Yeah,
he's someone who's been brought in to sort of, be an eventual replacement, or someone that's going to go into that 6, and Partey and Zubimendi will, alternate. I think it'll probably be Zubimendi who starts. I think the main thing is that the one who's going to benefit, I think I've mentioned quite a few times, is Martin Odegaard. He tends to have dropped deep a lot recently, but we're finding him too far back, in our half, when with Zubimendi so good at progressing the ball forward, and taking the ball forward and progressive forward passes. It'll give us more of an attacking threat as well. So, yeah.
Do you think that Odegaard will benefit from this signing?
Yeah, I think he will immensely, mate. I think that's the idea. I think that's one of the massive things. Zubimendi's someone who's like a specialist at doing that. Partey can do it, but he's not what I would call a specialist, at doing it. And hence why I think just Zubimendi's more mobile, quicker in the tackle, very quick. I know we're saying like Partey on the half turns quick, but Zubimendi's especially incredibly sort of quick on the half turn. And he's been after him for a long while, mate, and we've got him. So yeah, it's a nice one to have in the bag, early on, and to beat Liverpool because they thought they had him last year. So
yeah,
never mind. They don't.
Apparently, you'll probably hear about how Zubimendi's not good enough for the Premier League. Thomas Partey's future, Steve. You just saying there, a replacement for Thomas Partey. Is he looking like he's going to sign that 2-year extension?
Yeah, it's looking like, mate, with 1+1. Again, it was another story that I broke, and David Ormsby come out. I think it was the following day or a few days later, and confirmed that that he'd been offered a 1 year +1, and that Arsenal wanted to keep him, and Partey wanted to stay. It's not signed and sealed and yet. So, but all the indications are that that Partey will be staying at least for next season, and maybe for another season after that, which is great news because he's had a brilliant season.
Yeah,
and all parties are sort of in the same place. Arteta wants him to stay. Partey wants to stay. There's probably just a few things to sort out regarding maybe a little pay rise or something that Partey may be looking for. But I don't see any problems, unless there's some massive change in mind from Thomas in the last few days and saying he decides to pull out. But every indication is that he'll be an Arsenal player next season, and that midfield's now starting to look really strong.
Yeah, no, it is. I think Arsenal fans are excited about the prospect of seeing Partey sign his contract and Zubimendi come in. For all those people that are talking about Arsenal not signing a striker, and the first opportunity they go out and to bring in a player, they bring in a midfielder. Any news on the potential striker signing? I know that the main focus it seems now is very much Victor Gyökeres of Sporting Lisbon. After the news around Benjamin Sesko seems to have quietened a little bit. Seems like Andrea Berta's seems he's got his eye on Victor Gyökeres. There are a few reservations from a few people about Gyökeres. What's your take on the potential signing of the Swedish international?
Yeah, I think, look, there's reservations. I mean, I spoke to someone close to Arsenal, and there's always things that they look at, and there's always reservations over certain things, and players are not 100% perfect. I mean, Alexander Isak's not perfect. Do you know what I mean? He's injured a lot. Do you know what I mean? So that's something they would have to look at if they ever wanted to get him in. But look, that money's just too high for Arsenal and probably for most clubs, and Newcastle probably are not going to sell him anyway. So not in a place where they're not in the contract he's in, and the fact that they want to go forward and progress over the next few years. But Gregorikis is Berta's main guy. He's the number one target, and he's the one that Berta wants to bring in. It was for a long while. It was Benjamin Sesko, but that was when Edu was here. Since Berta's come in, he still likes Sesko. There's still a possibility he could come. From what I'm hearing, there's a few doubts about his age and whether his development is fully developed to go on and be that guy who could lead us to the title or Champions League. So hence why the Ollie Watkins sort of thing, and the conversations going on around him. So, but personally, I think Ollie Watkins is someone that would be brought in anyway. That's the sort of understanding I'm getting, that they're looking at him as a number two, because Gabriel Jesus certainly ain't that. And from what my understanding is as well, is that Havertz is more going to be dropping into a deeper role, and sort of play all over the place. Horses for courses, mixed players playing in all different big positions, versatility. But Gyoricki seems to be the main, is Berta's guy. My latest information on that is that there's going to be some talks after the Portuguese Cup final. And there's been a few people out there saying that a fee has been agreed. Well, with Sporting, I haven't. I'm sorry to disappoint Arsenal fans, but I have not heard that a fee's been agreed of yet. I've been told that past conversations have gone on with representatives and everything's fine that end of the deal. Gyorikis will be happy to come. Personal terms, not a problem. But there's still the situation of that Gyorikis is on his release clause, which is still a little bit techie on what it actually is. So there's conversations for there to be had, and what the actual price is going to be at the end. But he has been told he can leave at the end of the season, and those conversations will take place after the Portuguese Cup final on May the 25th. So so that's about where we are with him. But I'm probably just swinging towards Gyorikis. From what I'm seeing, he seems like a beast. He seems a bit Premier League ready now. So we'll see anyway. We'll see.
And the options for the left wing. Obviously, the news, there's news going around still about Nico Williams. Are there any other options on that left wing?
Well, again, with Berta's a big fan of Rafael Leo. I know there's been conversations there, sort of internally about him. There's names that are being mentioned, like Anthony Gordon and Antonio Semenyo. I've not heard those anything sort of majorly enough to go out with anything. And if I had, be sure that I would if I had heard anything. But I've seen it in the Mail and Times, and I'm just it don't.
It
don't add up. It certainly don't add up. It's just.
I think he's good, but I'm sorry. I think he's a bit overrated. If I'm honest, Anthony Gordon.
But Nico Williams, we know. Look, Mikel Arteta loves Nico Williams. They've got an affordable release clause there, but similar to the Zubamendi thing, he's from the Basque country. We all know that Atletico club don't value their players very highly.
Yeah,
they're very techie about letting them go.
Yeah,
and they tend to keep to their whatever the release clause is. You have to pay straight. No structure, no nonsense, and this is something to do with the fact that they don't sign any players
Yeah, I think they've only
players
signed 3 players in their squad that are outside of the Basque region.
Exactly, and it's something
which
to do with
allows
that.
them to have a big or very good wage structure, so they can pay big money to their players.
Yeah, hence why they have to keep to certain things. They can't have like someone paying off one of the release clauses, and it's like, and sometimes they've in the past they've actually forced players to stay because like it's like, you're not going, we need you here, because we're not willing to let you go. They're very tough negotiators.
Yeah,
and so there's a lot going on there. But from Arsenal side, it's look, just give us he's the man. Do you know what I mean?
So Nico Williams is the guy they want then still.
Yeah, he's someone that Berta knows well. It's look, with not just me, many people have said that we all know that Arteta loves Nico Williams, and Arsenal will bring in a left-sided winger, and it has to be someone of some note, you know, and I don't think someone like Semenyo, Gordon Service, and the name upon everyone's lips is Nico Williams, mate, and it always has been, but as I say, Athletic Club, you know, very tough negotiators. A lot of technical stuff goes on with with stuff that like what we've just spoken about, what we've explained. So I can see that one sort of like probably, you know, going deep into the end of the window maybe. But
there was a few stories that was going around about Martinelli potentially. Arsenal are willing to let him go. Is there any truth in that?
No. Said that for a long while. I mean, again, people coming out saying, you know, they're going to sell him. And I think we've seen from, you know, Martinelli
recent interviews.
Interviews. You know, he's literally turned man and said, if I'm on the bench, I'm on the bench. I'll come on and do a job if I can, which is brilliant.
Yeah, to be fair, that's what Arsenal need. They need that.
Yeah. And he's been doing it. And to be fair play to him, he's been one of our better players of late, Martinelli.
Yeah, he's been
putting in a shift. So, yeah, that's what you want to hear, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it is. I was happy when I heard that news because we need to keep. I was thinking we can't really afford to sell players. We need to start just building a squad. I look at our bench at the moment and it's so weak, especially going in attacking positions. We're so weak in the midfield. We're weak in attacking positions. We're weak. We've only got just a team full of bench full of defenders. And
I wouldn't be surprised if Zinchenko stayed. Wouldn't surprise me.
I wouldn't be against it if he wants to stay. Like if he's not going to kick up a stink.
Not hearing nothing major he's going to go.
I think we could use him more.
I do.
There's no reason why we can't use him.
It's another, you know, it's good when you look on the bench and you've got players like, I don't know, if he is a Martinelli, a Trossard, a Calafiori, a Zinchenko, and then Weary, that's big Party or someone like that, or Ben White. Some people might think that's a mad bench.
Yeah,
that's a crazy bench.
There's some news that Chelsea could be back in for Antonio Rudiger.
Yeah, there's an approach. I've got a really good relationship with the agent of Rudiger and a few other players, Dion and Georgis. Funny enough, they all come under the HMC agency, and probably one of the best relationships I've got. And they give me information, and there's been an approach by Chelsea, and they're just monitoring his decision. I mean, the Real Madrid are looking. What interests me was that, you know, you're hearing Real Madrid interested in, you know, they've had a little nibble at Saliba, haven't they? They're looking at Dean Huijsen. You know, they're looking to change that back that centre back partnership over the next few years. And so it was really interesting to hear that Chelsea have been knocking around and just seeing what it's just an approach to see what, you know, Rudiger thinks. So it's one to keep an eye on. So, but again, it's one I could see happening. To be honest with you, at some point, he's always said he loves London, he loves Chelsea. It's his second home and stuff like that. So Yeah, who knows? It seems like a sort of thing Chelsea would do.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, they're not ashamed of bringing back new players. I have a couple of stories that you came out with over the last week. Is Arsenal eyeing up Morgan Rogers and potentially Liam Delap, Steve.
Yeah, I mean they're both sort of been approached by Arsenal. Liam Delap's been on the list. Well, it shocked me for apparently quite a while, and he's on that sort of. He would be looked upon as a second striker to come in. If someone like Ollie Watkins, never to come, or that deal for some reason broke down for some reason. So yeah, you're going to hear a lot of these, and Delap's one of those.
So Arsenal in for another striker. They're still interested in Watkins.
Yeah. I mean, because Jesus, do you know what I mean? They can't rely on Jesus no more, unfortunately. And Trossard, he still hasn't signed his new contract. We don't know what's happening with him, and he's not really a striker. If you want to bring someone on, if Gorikis comes and he gets injured, you need someone to come in who's a number 9.
Yeah.
And that's why Arsenal are looking at Watkins and Delap, because they could come in and get you the goal in a game that you needed.
Yeah.
So and Arsenal will say they're looking at building their squad. It's a big window. They've got money to spend, Arsenal. So and Morgan Rogers is again, it's someone who I'm told Arteta likes and they're keeping an eye on. And yeah, I mean, there's other clubs looking at Morgan Rogers like Villa Man City and Liverpool. He's 22 years old. He's a top player, and he will do a job at any club. So, and I think Martin Odegaard needs some help. Do you know what I mean?
Does need help. Massively needs help.
Yeah, I mean, these players, you've got to sort of approach players like this, and it's good to hear that Arsenal are. It doesn't mean we're going to sign them, but yeah, look, Villa, they're sort of struggling with PSR at the moment. Whether it doesn't look like they're going to make Champions League this year. So there's obviously an opportunity there that Morgan Rogers may want to leave for one of the bigger clubs.
Yep, and the similar situation with Delap as well. It seems like a transfer which is an easy win for any suitors. 30 million they're getting for, isn't it?
Man United,
Premier League, and there's a lot of potential. That's why there's a lot of clubs looking at him. Chelsea, Man United, and Arsenal as well. And I don't think they'll be going to any of those clubs as the main striker either. So again, I'm excited about the prospect of this summer. I like the idea that we're looking to bring in a couple of strikers, and I like the idea that we're looking to bring in a striker for the here and now as well. Look, I'm still open to Benjamin Sesko because I think he's got a lot of talent. I like the idea of bringing in Ollie Watkins, and I think vice versa. If you've got a guy Carey's and you're looking at potentially Liam Delap to be that younger option. I like what I'm hearing here.
And we got Kai who can basically play anywhere.
He can, and I think again, people question what happens with Kai Havertz. He's a versatile player that came through in the 10. He's played on the right this season as well. He's played up front. He's adapted to that position. Like I think he's a quality player to have in the team.
He's been one of our most important players. I mean,
he's been overplayed as well. He's been overplayed. He came back far too early from his last injury, and now he's been out for the remainder of the season. So it's a big summer for Arsenal, as it is for Manchester United, Chelsea, Man City, and Liverpool, as they push on to either solidify where they are or push forward in the league. Any more transfer news off the top of your head, Steve, before we go?
No. The only one I can think of that's gone out tonight is that there's going to be talks. Chelsea have got more talks with Victor Osimhen to see whether they can come some sort of arrangement over his wages, and if so, they'll move on. Those talks are meant to be happening with his representative over the next few days. From my information on that is that Chelsea want Osimhen. They always have done. Osimhen wants Chelsea. He's always been flirting with them for God knows how long. He come close to signing for him in the summer, everyone thought a deal was actually going to go through, but it was the wages thing that made the deal, and in the end the deal never happened. But there is going to be more talks. As I say, that I put that article out there tonight, so people can go and have a look at that and read the full information. But that's the gist of it. So, yeah, because he will be leaving Galatasaray, and from what I hear, he wants to play in the Premier League. And I think even John Obi Mikel come out, who's a good friend of Osimhen, says he wants to sign for Chelsea. So there's a few little things that add up there. So,
all right, that is all we
but,
have
but he wants a lot of money. He wants a lot of money. So
he does want a lot of money. But I mean, if you're buying a player like Osimhen, I mean, you're kind of guaranteeing yourself some goals there and a quality player. Thank you for everyone who's joined us tonight. If you are a regular on the show, press that like and press that share button. If you are watching on Twitter, press that retweet and press that like. Get in the comment section next time as well and get some questions in. Ask Stephen questions about transfers. It's going to be ramping up when it comes to transfers from now on as the season dies down. But as every season dies down, the transfer season starts to begin. Go and follow Steve on Twitter. Make sure you go and find him, Steve K. Come and follow us on TikTok as well, where you can find us on the Transfer Exchange Show and Kieran AFC as well. Thank you for your time tonight, Steve.
Pleasure, mate. Cheers.
And thank you for everyone who's joined us tonight. Peace out, people. Stay safe and wash your hands.